Everything started like an ordinary day, until it turned into a nightmare. Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, walked into the courthouse, confident, sharp, and completely unaware that she was about to be humiliated by the very people tasked with upholding justice. They thought she was just Trump's girl, easily subdued. They shaved her head, mocked her, and recorded a video to jeer at her. But what they didn't know was, they had just messed with the wrong person, because she wasn't just the president's spokesperson. She was a warrior capable of destroying them, legally and relentlessly. What happened next was a storm of justice, with truths exposed, shocking trials, and a twist that left her enemies begging for mercy. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. Karoline Leavitt stepped into the Philadelphia Federal Courthouse, her high heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor, echoing through the vast space. She was there to testify in a lawsuit regarding President Donald Trump's immigration executive order. Dressed in a fitted deep pink blazer, and with a piercing gaze, Leavitt exuded the confidence of someone accustomed to facing cameras and crowds. In her leather briefcase, meticulously prepared notes were ready to counter any question from lawyers or reporters. She wasn't just representing the Trump administration, she was the face of the conservative movement, a warrior, as Trump had once called her. Outside the courthouse, the atmosphere was electric. Reporters from CNN and Fox News jostled, cameras aimed at a crowd of liberal activists waving anti-Trump banners and MAGA supporters in red hats. The political polarization was like a charge in the air, ready to explode. Leavitt glided past, ignoring curious stares or whispers. She was used to attention, both friendly and hostile, but today, she didn't know she was walking into a trap already set for her. At the security checkpoint, the guard's gaze shifted from indifference to icy sharpness as Leavitt presented her credentials. A voice crackled over the radio, special screening, orders from Judge Langley. Leavitt frowned. Edward Langley, a federal judge notorious for his liberal leanings, had been criticized by her on Fox News for rulings against Trump's orders. She sensed hostility in that name. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. The security officer, a burly man named Robert Klein, crossed his arms, flashing a smug grin. "Just procedure, Miss Leavitt. Judge Langley wants to ensure safety." She glanced around. No cameras, no witnesses, just a few other guards standing still, their eyes averted. A sense of unease stirred, but Leavitt kept her posture rigid. "I demand to see the order," she said, her voice firm. Klein shrugged, pointing down the hallway. "Follow me, or we'll detain you." Leavitt gripped her briefcase, weighing her options. She could refuse, make a scene, but that would disrupt the trial, and give the liberal media a chance to smear her. She nodded, following Klein into a secluded screening room, the steel door closing behind her with a heavy hiss. On the table, a hair clipper sat silently, like a threat. Leavitt stopped, her heart racing. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice still calm but carrying a warning. Klein grinned, picking up the clipper. "Just a security check, Trump girl. Judge Langley wants to make sure you're not hiding anything in that hair." The steel door closed behind Karoline Leavitt, the lock clicking like a sentence. In the cold, sealed room of the Philadelphia Federal Courthouse, fluorescent lights flickered, casting a glow on the gray concrete walls. The smell of metal and disinfectant was thick, as if the air itself carried a threat. Leavitt stood tall, clutching her briefcase, her sharp eyes scanning Judge Edward Langley, who stood in the center of the room, his black robe fluttering, holding a gleaming hair clipper. Two security guards stood near the door, their gazes lowered, like silent shadows. No minions, just Langley, with a mocking smile and eyes full of hatred, like a predator ready to take down its prey. Leavitt felt her pulse quicken, but her face remained icy, betraying no hint of wavering. "What is this game, Judge Langley?" she asked, her voice as sharp as when she sparred on Fox News. "I demand my lawyer right now. You have no right to detain me in this room." Langley switched on the clipper, its low buzz filling the room like angry bees. He stepped closer, his eyes glinting with the arrogance of a liberal federal judge who had presided over 500 cases in 15 years, with 80% of his rulings favoring liberal policies, according to 2024 Justice Department statistics. "Lawyer," he sneered, his voice low but dripping with contempt. "You have no rights in my courtroom, Miss Leavitt." That hair, he pointed at her neatly tied blonde locks, could hide a recording device. My court has documented 3 audio leaks in the past year, and I won't let a MAGA stars like you undermine justice. Sit down, or I'll order your arrest for defying the court. Leavitt gripped her briefcase, her nails digging into her palms, her eyes blazing with fury. This is blatant abuse of power, she shot back fiercely, her voice ringing like a declaration of war. I am the White House press secretary, representing a legitimate administration. You have no evidence, no warrant, and this action violates the Fourth Amendment's privacy protections. I demand you stop now. Her argument was razor sharp, drawn from her experience countering liberal media, where she had debunked over 200 accusations against Trump in 2024 press briefings. She took a half step toward Langley, her stance defiant, as if she were at the White House podium. But Langley didn't flinch. He raised the clipper, the fluorescent light glinting off the blade, and smirked. You think you're the voice of righteousness, he said, his tone patronizing and mocking. You'll have no voice left after today. He gestured for a guard to bring a steel chair, then turned to Leavitt, his voice menacing. Sit down, or I'll have you detained right here for obstructing justice. Leavitt scanned the room, memorizing every detail, the dim light, the metallic smell, the tense faces of the 2 guards, and Langley's smug grin. She calculated quickly, resisting could lead to detention, disrupting the trial, and giving liberal media, like CNN, a chance to smear her with headlines like Trump's press secretary causes chaos in court. But compliance didn't mean surrender. She would let Langley act, and he would pay dearly. Fine, she said, her voice cold as ice, sitting on the steel chair, her eyes never leaving Langley. But I'll remember every word you say, every action you take. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Langley laughed loudly, the sound echoing like a challenge. He stood close, so near that Leavitt could feel his breath. Mistake, he mocked, his voice gleeful. You're the mistake, Miss Leavitt. You and your MAGA crowd think you can criticize me on Fox News, call me anti-Trump. Today I'll teach you humility. He switched on the clipper again, bringing the blade to her scalp, cold and vibrating like a living sword. The first lock of blonde hair fell to the floor, glinting under the light, like stolen fragments of radiance. Leavitt sat still, her nails digging deep into her palms, blood seeping out, but her eyes burned, searing Langley's face into her memory. He worked slowly, deliberately, as if savoring every cut. Look at this, he said, holding up a lock of hair, turning to the guard with the name tag T. Harris. She looks more like a commoner now. No longer the media queen. Harris chuckled, pulling out a phone to record a video, his eyes darting to Langley as if seeking approval. The other guard, nameless, stood still, his gaze averted, but he didn't dare intervene. Leavitt's golden hair, her pride, piled up on the floor, like torn fragments of memory. Each buzz of the clipper was an insult, each of Langley's laughs a cut into her dignity. He stood close, watching every lock fall, his mocking smile never leaving his face. You called my rulings biased on TV, he said, his voice low but full of satisfaction. Now who has the power, miss? Leavitt, who's the winner? Leavitt remained silent, denying him the satisfaction of seeing her weak. Her gaze was like a blade, promising a day when he would beg for mercy. In her mind, she compiled a list, Langley's mocking words, Harris's video, the cowardice of the other guard, and this room, all would be weapons to destroy him. When the clipper stopped, Langley stepped back, admiring his work with sick satisfaction. Done, he said, tossing the clipper onto the steel table, the metallic clang piercing the air. Now you can testify, if you still have the courage. Leavitt stood slowly, like a warrior after battle. She refused to look at the pile of hair, refused to let Langley see her hurt. She turned to him, her eyes blazing like an unquenchable flame. Thank you for making it clear who my enemy is, she said, her voice low but sharp, like a sentence. You'll regret this day, Judge Langley. He frowned, a flicker of unease, but quickly masked it with a contemptuous smile. Go, he pointed to the door. The trial's waiting. Leavitt picked up her briefcase, walking out of the room, head bare but her posture unbowed. She felt the sting of her scalp under the hallway lights, but that pain only fueled the fire within her. Langley didn't know he had just ignited a storm. Leavitt had memorized everything, The mocking smile, the arrogant words, the video being recorded. She would use it all to destroy him, legally and ruthlessly. Karoline Leavitt pushed open the steel door of the security screening room, the hinges screeching like a final taunt. The hallway of the Philadelphia Federal Courthouse stretched before her, light from high windows spilling onto the marble floor, exposing her bare head, the cruel mark of Judge Edward Langley. The crowd outside, reporters, activists, MAGA supporters, fell silent, their eyes locking onto her like spotlights. A few whispers arose, phones raised to snap photos, but Leavitt didn't lower her head. She walked forward, back straight, briefcase gripped tightly, as if she had just left a triumphant press briefing. But in her chest, rage burned, aimed directly at Langley, the man who had personally shaved her head, mocked her, and recorded a video to humiliate her before the nation. He, a symbol of corrupted power, had chosen the wrong adversary. She headed to the witness waiting room, a small space with velvet chairs and an old wooden table. The door closed, shutting out curious stares. For the first time since the humiliation, Leavitt was alone. She set down her briefcase, stepped to the mirror on the wall, her hand trembling slightly as she faced her reflection. Her bare head, uneven patches from Langley's rough clipper, looked foreign, like it belonged to someone else. Her golden hair, her pride, a symbol of her confidence on Fox News, was now just a pile of debris on the screening room floor. She touched her scalp, feeling the emptiness, and a sharp pain pierced her chest. Not from the loss of hair, but from Langley's sick arrogance, the man who had stood close, sneering, "You'll have no voice left after today." Those words echoed, like a dagger to her pride. Rage flared, hot and sharp. Leavitt gripped the table's edge, nails digging into the wood. "Langley thinks he can break me," she whispered, her voice trembling with fury. "He's wrong. I'll destroy him, with the very law he defiles." She took a deep breath, forcing calm. This was no time for weakness. She was the White House press secretary, who had faced down CNN, MSNBC, and angry crowds. Langley, with over 500 cases in 15 years, claimed to be justice, but today he had exposed himself as an abuser of power, a symbol of a corrupt system. Leavitt would turn his actions into a weapon, not just for personal revenge, but to topple his throne of power. Leavitt pulled out her phone, calling Donald Trump directly. It rang once before his familiar voice boomed, forceful and outraged. "Karoline, what the hell's going on?" She recounted briefly, her voice sharp, targeting Langley. "Judge Edward Langley personally shaved my head in a sealed room at the courthouse, sir. He stood there mocking me, recording a video, calling me Trump's girl who needed humility. He wanted to humiliate me, humiliate you, humiliate the America First movement." Trump roared through the phone. "Langley, that liberal hack, he's an enemy of justice. Don't worry, Karoline. Alina Habba will be in touch. Destroy him." Trump's words poured fuel on her fire. "I will, sir," she replied, her eyes blazing. "Langley will lose his judgeship, his reputation, everything." She contacted Alina Habba, Trump's renowned conservative lawyer, via encrypted message. "I need security footage from Langley's screening room today, and prepare a civil lawsuit against him. No mercy." Habba replied instantly. "Got it. I'll send a team for the footage. Send me every detail you have." Leavitt nodded to herself, imagining Langley's smug face crumbling when the video surfaced, him wielding the clipper, mocking her, standing close to revel in the humiliation. She opened the X app, fingers gliding over the screen, drafting a post but not yet sending. She needed words sharp enough to make Langley a national target, exposing him as an abuser of power before millions of Americans. Leavitt turned back to the mirror, staring at her bare head. It wasn't a sign of defeat, but a trophy of a coming battle. She gave a faint, dangerous smile. "Thank you, Langley," she whispered. "Thank you for giving me a reason to destroy you." She picked up her briefcase, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. The crowd was still there, some reporters thrusting microphones, but she glided past, not stopping. A Newsmax reporter, familiar from past interviews, ran up. "Miss Leavitt, what happened? Who did this?" She paused, turning, her gaze like a blade. "Judge Edward Langley," she said, her voice low but commanding. He thought he could humiliate me. Tonight, on Fox News, the nation will know the truth. She stepped into the elevator, heading to the courtroom to testify. Each step was a vow. Langley, who had personally shaved her head, would pay with his career, reputation, and freedom. In her mind, she mapped out the plan. The security footage would be the first strike, the ex-post the spark, and Haba the legal sword. Leavitt didn't just want justice, she wanted to destroy Langley, a symbol of corrupted power, to make him a lesson for anyone who dared cross her. Just hours after the humiliation, Leavitt's rage had become a sharpened weapon. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, crafting an ex-post, each word a dagger aimed at Langley. Today, Judge Edward Langley, a symbol of corrupted power, personally shaved my head at the Philadelphia Federal Courthouse, mocking me, recording a video, to humiliate me, and the America First movement. He was wrong. I will make him pay. #Justice for Karoline. She hit send, and like a spark to gunpowder, the post spread at lightning speed. Within 30 minutes, over 50,000 shares, thousands of furious comments, and the hashtag #Justice for Karoline dominated X, overshadowing all other news. Leavitt knew the power of her role as White House press secretary lay in shaping the narrative, and she wouldn't let Langley, who had stood close sneering that she was Trump's girl, steal her voice. She called Jake Hammond, the Newsmax reporter who had interviewed her before, her voice resolute. "Jake, I need to be on Fox News tonight. I'll expose Langley to the nation." "Make sure the cameras are ready," Hammond agreed instantly, sensing a media bombshell. Leavitt stood looking out the window at Pennsylvania Avenue, the city lights flickering. This wasn't just a personal fight with Langley, a symbol of a corrupt judicial system who had presided over 500 cases with 80% liberal rulings. It was a battle for Trump and millions of MAGA supporters. That evening, Leavitt stepped into the Fox News studio in Washington, D.C., her bare head gleaming under the studio lights, a wordless declaration of war against Langley. Cameras focused on her, and viewers across America from bars in Texas to living rooms in Florida were glued to their screens. Host Laura Ingraham introduced her with a voice full of outrage. Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, humiliated by Judge Edward Langley inside a federal courthouse. She's here to tell the truth. Leavitt sat upright, her gaze sharp, unwavering. "Today I walked into the Philadelphia federal courthouse to testify for the Trump administration," she began, her voice low but powerful. "Judge Edward Langley personally took a clipper, shaved my head, mocked me and ordered a video recorded. He called me Trump's girl and said I would have no voice left. He wanted to break me because I represent President Trump. But I'm here to tell him, Langley, you picked the wrong person." She recounted the details, the clipper's buzz, golden locks falling like stolen fragments of light, Langley's sick smile as he stood close. "This wasn't just a personal attack," she said, staring into the camera. "Langley is a symbol of corrupted power, a judge using his bench for political revenge. I call on patriotic Americans to stand up, share this story, and demand Langley's removal now." The studio audience applauded, and on X, the hashtag #Justice for Karoline climbed to #1, with over 2 million mentions in 24 hours. Major conservative accounts like Dan Bongino and Charlie Kirk shared Leavitt's post, calling her a MAGA warrior, and Langley an abuser of power. But Langley didn't stay silent. From his office in Philadelphia, he held a brief press conference on CNN, his voice arrogant and patronizing. "Miss Leavitt is exaggerating a necessary security check. My court documented 3 audio leaks last year. I have a duty to protect justice, not let media stars like her undermine it." He smirked, implying Leavitt was a political opportunist. CNN and MSNBC amplified it, citing anonymous court sources, accusing Leavitt of playing the victim to boost her image. Leavitt, watching from the green room after her interview, gripped her phone, rage flaring. "Langley dares call me a liar," she whispered, her eyes blazing. She opened X, drafting a new post. "Judge Langley calls me an exaggerator on CNN, defending shaving my head to protect justice. This is his justice, #Stop Langley Abuse." The post went viral, with over 100,000 shares in 2 hours, enraging MAGA supporters, who branded Langley a judicial tyrant. Meanwhile, Alina Habba texted, "My team contacted a disgruntled court staffer. The security video of Langley shaving your head will be ours in 24 hours. Prepare for a civil lawsuit, Karoline. Leavitt gave a faint smile, picturing Langley's smug face collapsing when the video surfaced. She called Elise Stefanik, her voice resolute. Elise, I need senators to pressure the Justice Department. Langley didn't just humiliate me, he's a threat to justice. Stefanik agreed. I'll meet with Cruz and Hawley. We'll make sure Langley loses his seat. To take down Langley, a symbol of corrupted power, who had presided over 500 cases with 80% liberal rulings, she needed hard evidence that would leave him undeniable in court. Her phone buzzed with a message from Alina Habba. Court staffer agreed to meet 10 a.m. cafe near the courthouse. He has the security video of Langley shaving your head. Leavitt nodded, her eyes blazing. This was the chance to turn Langley's mocking smile into a fatal blow. The next morning, Leavitt arrived at a small cafe a few blocks from the Philadelphia Federal Courthouse. She wore a black coat and a cap to hide her bare head from curious eyes. In the corner, Michael Torres, a court technician, sat nervously with a cold coffee. Torres, disgruntled after years of witnessing Langley's abuses, was the key to exposing him. Leavitt sat down, her gaze sharp as a knife. What do you have for me, Michael? She asked, her voice low but commanding, aimed straight at Langley. Torres slid a USB across the table, his hand trembling slightly. Security footage from the screening room, he whispered. Langley shaving your head, standing close, mocking you, ordering the video recorded. I copied it before he could delete it. Leavitt took the USB, fingers tightening, imagining Langley's arrogant face crumbling when the video surfaced. Anything else? She asked, sensing Torres was holding back. He took a deep breath, glancing around the cafe. Langley didn't just target you. He covered up 7 complaints against security staff in the last 3 years. Harassment, witness intimidation, all to protect his power. I have internal emails, Langley ordering quiet resolutions to keep his judgeship. Leavitt gave a faint smile, her eyes flashing. Good work, Michael. Send me everything. Langley won't escape. Torres sent an email with attached files, revealing Langley had dismissed a 2023 complaint from a witness intimidated for supporting Trump. Leavitt forwarded it to Habba with a message. We have Langley's video and emails. Prepare a civil lawsuit and demand a federal investigation. He must lose his seat. Habba replied in seconds. Perfect. I'll file the lawsuit against Langley tomorrow. The Justice Department won't ignore this. Leavitt tucked the USB into her pocket, the first taste of victory spreading. The security video, with Langley wielding the clipper, mocking her, would be the bullet piercing his defenses, and the emails would be the bomb destroying his career. Back in D.C., Leavitt met Elise Stefanik at a discreet Georgetown restaurant. Stefanik, with her sharp demeanor, listened to the plan, sipping a glass of wine. Langley is a symbol of judicial corruption. Leavitt said, her voice resolute. He shaved my head to humiliate me, but the video and emails prove he's been covering up abuses for years. I need senators to pressure the Justice Department for an investigation now. Stefanik nodded, her eyes in agreement. I'll talk to Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. They've despised Langley since his anti-Trump ruling in 2023. We'll demand a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Leavitt clinked her water glass, feeling the alliance against Langley growing stronger, but internal pressure emerged. At the White House, Mark Reynolds, a Trump strategist, pulled Leavitt into a meeting room. Karoline, you're doing great with X and Fox News, but this could distract from the president's tax agenda, he said, his voice uneasy. Langley's just a judge. Don't let him drag you down. Leavitt stared at Reynolds, her gaze like a blade. Mark, Langley isn't just a judge. He's a symbol of a corrupt system who personally shaved my head to humiliate the MAGA movement. If we let this slide, he'll keep abusing power. I'm not stopping. Reynolds sighed, silent, knowing Leavitt was unyielding. At the courthouse, Karoline Leavitt stepped into the courtroom, her bare head gleaming under the fluorescent lights, a wordless declaration of war against Judge Edward Langley, the man who had personally shaved her head to humiliate her before the nation. Just days after her X post garnered over 2 million mentions, and the security video from Michael Torres confirmed Langley's abuse of power, Leavitt stood here as the key witness in a hearing, investigating him, sparked by Alina Habba's civil lawsuit and pressure from Republican senators. The courtroom was packed. Reporters from Fox News, Newsmax and CNN jostled. MAGA supporters with #Justice for Karoline signs sat beside liberal activists, creating an atmosphere like a powder keg. Leavitt wore a sharp black blazer, her presence cutting like a knife, her gaze sweeping the crowd before locking onto Langley. He sat in the defendant's row, his judge's robe gone, his face tense but still clinging to arrogance, as if his corrupted power remained untouchable. Presiding Judge Margaret Cole, a neutral figure with 20 years of experience and a reputation for fairness, banged the gavel to open the session. Leavitt took the witness stand, swearing to tell the truth, her eyes focused as if running a White House press briefing. Habba stood, her voice steely. "Miss Leavitt, tell the court what Judge Langley did to you." Leavitt took a deep breath, her voice low but resonant, aimed directly at Langley. "I came to the Philadelphia federal courthouse to testify for the Trump administration. Judge Edward Langley personally led me to a sealed room, took a clipper, shaved my head, mocked me, and ordered a video recorded. He called me Trump's girl and said I would have no voice left. He wanted to humiliate me, because I represent President Trump and the America First movement." She paused, letting her words sink in. The crowd murmured. Reporters scribbled frantically. Habba played the security video from Torres on a large screen. The room fell silent as the images appeared. Langley wielding the clipper, Leavitt's golden locks falling to the floor, his mocking smile, and Harris recording the video on his orders. The clipper's buzz roared through the speakers, making the audience shudder. Leavitt kept her gaze steady, though the memory of the humiliation, Langley's sick smile as he stood close, still stung. "That's me," she said, when the video ended, her voice firm. Langley, with over 500 cases and 80% liberal rulings, thought he could abuse his power to break me. He was wrong. The public erupted in applause, forcing Cole to bang the gavel for order. Langley's defense attorney David Feldman stood, his eyes cold. He tried to defend Langley, the symbol of corrupted power. "Miss Leavitt, you've turned a necessary security check into a political crisis." Judge Langley's court documented 3 audio leaks in 2023. His actions were to protect justice, not abuse power. Leavitt gave a faint smile, her gaze like a blade. "Mr. Feldman, if it was a security check, why did Langley personally wield the clipper? Why did he mock me, record a video, and say I would have no voice left? That's not justice. It's personal revenge for my criticism of him on Fox News." The crowd chuckled, and Feldman, flustered, shifted questions. He pressed on. "You're the press secretary, a media expert. Are you exaggerating to smear Judge Langley?" Leavitt leaned forward, her voice sharp as when sparring on CNN. "Exaggerating? I have video of Langley shaving my head, emails of him covering up 7 abuse complaints over 3 years, from harassment to witness intimidation. He's not protecting justice, he's protecting his corrupted power." Her words sent a jolt through the courtroom, MAGA supporters nodding in approval, and even some CNN reporters jotting notes with surprise. Habba continued. Presenting emails from Torres, Langley ordered quiet resolutions for complaints against security staff, including a 2023 case involving a Trump-supporting witness. "Judge Langley didn't just target Miss Leavitt," Habba said, her voice commanding. "He built a system of abuse, and we demand a federal investigation now." Feldman objected, calling the emails unverified, but Cole allowed them into evidence, prompting cheers from the audience. Leavitt stared directly at Langley, her eyes blazing. He avoided her gaze, but the tension on his face was clear. The symbol of corrupted power was starting to crumble. As the hearing adjourned, Leavitt left the witness stand, her eyes never leaving Langley. He sat there, hands clenched, trying to maintain his arrogance, but Leavitt knew she had made him fear. Outside the courtroom, Newsmax reporters swarmed her. "Miss Leavitt, what do you think of Langley after today?" She paused, her bare head gleaming under camera lights. "Langley thought he could humiliate me and get away with it," she said, her voice certain. "He was wrong. I'll make sure he loses his judgeship." Her words were posted on X instantly, garnering 150,000 shares in an hour, fueling a wave of support. In the waiting room, Elise Stefanik texted, "Cruz and Hawley are pushing the Justice Department to investigate Langley. Stay strong, Karoline." Habba walked in, placing a hand on her shoulder. "The video and emails are strong, But we need a direct witness, Haba said. Torres fears retaliation. Leavitt nodded. Protect him. I want Langley to face the people he's oppressed. As she left the courthouse, a MAGA supporter grabbed her hand. Miss Leavitt, you're our hope. She smiled, victory spreading, but knew the battle wasn't over. Karoline Leavitt stood at the podium in the White House's James S. Brady press briefing room, camera lights illuminating her bare head, the cruel mark of Judge Edward Langley, who had personally shaved it to humiliate her before the nation. After the first hearing, the security video exposing Langley's abuse had shaken him, but he still clung to his judgeship temporarily, and Leavitt was determined to deliver the next blow. Reporters from Fox News, Newsmax and CNN crowded before her, microphones raised, awaiting her salvo. Leavitt gripped the mic, her gaze sharp as a knife, aimed straight at Langley, the symbol of corrupted power, who had presided over 500 cases with 80% liberal rulings, and covered up 7 abuse complaints over 3 years. Americans deserve the truth, she began, her voice steely, resounding as when defending President Trump. Judge Edward Langley didn't just personally shave my head, mock me, and record a video to humiliate me for my loyalty to Trump. He also covered up 7 abuse complaints, from harassment to witness intimidation, to protect his corrupted power. She held up a stack of documents, copies of emails from Michael Torres, verified by Alina Haba. Langley thinks he's untouchable, but I'm here to say, he's wrong. I call on all of Langley's victims to speak out on X with #StopLangleyAbuse. We will bring him down. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled frantically. Leavitt's call was like a spark to gunpowder. Within hours, X exploded with over 500,000 posts from users recounting incidents involving Langley, a lawyer delayed for supporting Trump, a court staffer silenced after reporting harassment. A woman, once a court clerk, posted a tearful video, describing how Langley dismissed her 2023 complaint against a security staffer. Leavitt shared it instantly, commenting, "This is Langley's justice, protecting abuse, humiliating Americans. #StopLangleyAbuse." The post hit 3 million views, pushing the hashtag to #1, surpassing even international news. To amplify, Leavitt teamed up with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, top conservative influencers. Kirk hosted a live stream on X, inviting Leavitt to recount the incident. "Karoline, you're fighting a judicial tyrant," Kirk said, his voice fervent. Leavitt via video call, her bare head gleaming under lights, replied, "Charlie Langley personally shaved my head to humiliate me and MAGA. He thinks he's above the law, but his video and emails are exposing the truth." Owens, joining from her studio, urged viewers to send more evidence of Langley's abuses, turning Leavitt's campaign into a national movement. The livestream reached 5 million views, shared by Dan Bongino and Ben Shapiro, who called Langley an enemy of justice, but Langley fought back fiercely. From his Philadelphia office, he appeared on MSNBC, his voice arrogant and patronizing. "Miss Leavitt is an agitator, exploiting her White House role to smear me. My security check protected the court from leaks, with 3 documented in 2023, she's just playing victim for fame." He smirked, calling Leavitt a MAGA media star. CNN ran an analysis, citing anonymous court sources labeling Torres's emails fabricated. Leavitt, watching from her office, gripped her phone, rage flaring. "Langley dares call me a liar," she whispered, her eyes blazing. She opened X, drafting a new post. "Judge Langley calls me an agitator on MSNBC, defending shaving my head as security. This is his security." She attached a partially redacted screenshot of Langley's email, revealing the quiet resolution line. The post hit 200,000 shares in 3 hours, with MAGA supporters branding Langley a black-robed tyrant. Meanwhile, Alina Haba texted, "We have a new witness, a former security staffer ready to testify about Langley forcing her silence after a 2023 witness intimidation case. I'll bring her to the next hearing." Leavitt nodded, picturing Langley trembling as the witness spoke. Elise Stefanik updated, "Cruz and Hawley met with the Justice Department, demanding a criminal investigation of Langley. You're shaking, D.C." Leavitt clinked her water glass to herself, feeling the anti-Langley alliance growing stronger. Back at her apartment, Leavitt received a text from Nicholas Riccio. "You're making Langley tremble, Karoline. Nico and I are proud." She looked at her son's photo, warmth mixing with resolve, but pressure loomed. Malicious comments from liberal accounts called her a bald troublemaker. She ignored them, focusing on new evidence, an audio file from an anonymous account, capturing Langley instructing staff to erase all traces of the shaving incident. She forwarded it to Haba, her heart racing. "This is the kill shot," she whispered. Karoline Leavitt sat in her Washington, D.C. apartment, the dim living room light casting shadows on her bare head, the cruel mark of Judge Edward Langley, who had personally shaved it to humiliate her before the nation. The second media campaign, with over 3 million views on her X post and the hashtag #StopLangleyAbuse dominating social media, had made Langley a national target, but personal pressure was creeping in. Her phone screen lit up with hundreds of X notifications, support mixed with venomous comments from liberal accounts, calling her a bald troublemaker or Trump's lackey. Each insult was like a needle, reminding her of Langley's mocking smile as he stood close, saying, "You'll have no voice left after today." Leavitt scrolled past, her eyes blazing, but exhaustion was lurking. She opened a message from Nicholas Riccio, her husband in New Hampshire with their son Nico. "Karoline, you're shaking the nation, but I'm worried you're burning out. Call me." She looked at a photo of Nico, the 9-month-old, beaming, and a sharp pain pierced her chest. The fight against Langley, the symbol of corrupted power, who had covered up 7 abuse complaints over 3 years per Michael Torres's emails, had stolen days with her family. She video called Riccio, his face appearing, tired but warm. "Karoline, you okay?" he asked. She forced a smile, hiding her fatigue. "I'm fine, Nick, but Langley's still fighting back on MSNBC, calling me an agitator. I have to keep going, for Nico, for Trump." Riccio nodded, his eyes concerned. "Destroy him, Karoline, but don't forget Nico needs his mom. Come home when you can." The call ended, and Leavitt felt a void. She stepped to the mirror, facing her bare head. Langley's mark, the man who had wielded the clipper, mocking her before court staff. "He thought he could break me," she whispered, her eyes blazing. She wasn't just fighting for revenge. She was fighting to ensure no one else suffered Langley's abuse. She needed a push to keep going. That afternoon, Leavitt met President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Warm golden light enveloped the room, but the air was tense. Trump stood, hugging her, his voice full of outrage. "Karoline, you're my #1 warrior. Langley's liberal trash, daring to shave your head to humiliate our movement. Destroy him." She smiled, warmed by Trump's trust. As she outlined the plan, the new witness and the audio of Langley ordering evidence destroyed, Trump placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're making America proud," he said, his voice serious. "But don't let Langley drag you down. You're my star. Release that audio, make him tremble." Trump's words fueled her fire. "Thank you, sir," she replied. Langley will lose everything. Back at her office, Leavitt received an email from Alina Haba. The audio, Langley's voice ordering erase all traces of the shaving incident, had been verified. Haba wrote, "We'll use it in the next hearing. The new witness is ready." "Langley's done." Leavitt gripped her phone, picturing Langley's arrogant face crumbling when the audio played in court. She opened X, seeing a post from Charlie Kirk. "Karoline Leavitt is toppling judicial tyrant Langley. #StopLangleyAbuse." She shared it, adding, "Thanks, Charlie. Langley will face justice." At the second hearing, driven by Alina Haba's civil lawsuit, pressure from Republican senators, and a massive X-media campaign, with over 5 million #StopLangleyAbuse mentions, Leavitt had her chance to deliver the final blow to Langley, the symbol of corrupted power. The courtroom was packed. Over 100 reporters from Fox News, Newsmax and CNN jostled. 200 MAGA supporters, with #Justice for Karoline, signs sat beside liberal activists, creating the air of a final battle. Leavitt wore a silver-gray blazer, sharp as a blade, her gaze sweeping the crowd before locking on Langley. He sat in the defendant's row, no judge's robe, his face pale, hands clenched, his once arrogant demeanor now a fragile shell. Presiding Judge Margaret Cole, with 20 years of experience, and a reputation for fairness in 1,200 cases, banged the gavel to start. Leavitt took the witness stand, swearing to tell the truth, her eyes focused as if running a White House press briefing. Haba stood, her voice steely. "Miss Leavitt, recount Judge Langley's actions. Leavitt stared directly at Langley, her voice low but resonant, like a sentence. I came to the Philadelphia federal courthouse to testify for the Trump administration. Judge Edward Langley personally led me to a sealed room, took a clipper, shaved my head, mocked me, and ordered a video recorded. He said I would have no voice left because I was Trump's girl. He wanted to humiliate me, humiliate President Trump, and the America First movement. She paused, letting her words sink in, her blazing eyes searing Langley's arrogance, the man who had stood close, mocking her before court staff. Haba played the security video from Michael Torres on a large screen, showing Langley wielding the clipper, Leavitt's golden locks falling like stolen light, his sick smile. The clipper's buzz roared, making the audience shudder. Haba delivered a new blow, an audio file from an anonymous source capturing Langley's voice ordering erase the video, emails, everything. Leave no trace. His voice, cold and panicked, rang like a confession. Courtroom erupted in whispers, MAGA supporters cheering, forcing Cole to bang the gavel. Langley bowed his head, hands trembling, but still clung to a smug facade, as if his power, with over 500 cases, 80% liberal rulings, and 15 years on the bench, could save him. Haba continued, presenting emails from Torres. Langley covered up 7 abuse complaints over 3 years, including a 2023 case where he dismissed a complaint from a Trump-supporting witness threatened. The decisive blow came from a new witness. Sarah Mitchell, a former court security staffer, took the stand. Mitchell, with short hair and a resolute gaze, testified, "In 2023, I reported a security staffer intimidating a witness. Langley ordered me to stay silent, saying don't waste the court's time. When I objected, I was fired within 48 hours. The audience shuddered, and Leavitt from the witness stand nodded encouragement to Mitchell. Haba landed the final strike, internal documents showing Langley received $200,000 in secret funding from an anti-Trump liberal group in 2022, used to protect his power. Langley didn't just target Miss Leavitt, Haba declared, staring at Cole. He sold justice, turning his court into a tool for political revenge. Langley's defense attorney David Feldman stood trying to salvage the symbol of corrupted power. Miss Leavitt is a media expert, manipulating the public with an X campaign reaching 5 million mentions. Judge Langley's security check was necessary, with 3 audio leaks documented in 2023. This evidence is distorted to smear him. Feldman argued that Langley, with 15 years of experience, acted for court security, and Leavitt exploited the incident to bolster her MAGA image. Leavitt recalled to the stand, shot back sharply as if sparring on CNN, distorted. I have video of Langley personally shaving my head, audio of him ordering evidence destroyed, emails of him covering up abuse, and documents of secret funding. He's not protecting justice, he's protecting his corrupted power, because I dared criticize him on Fox News. Her words sparked audience applause, and Cole banged the gavel repeatedly. Haba concluded. Leavitt stared directly at Langley, her gaze like a blade. He looked up for a second, eyes panicked, then bowed his head, unable to meet her. Cole announced, the court will issue a ruling in 3 days, but today's evidence is deeply troubling. Leavitt left the witness stand, victory spreading. Outside the courtroom, Fox News reporters swarmed her. Miss Leavitt, what do you think of Langley? She paused, her bare head gleaming under lights. Langley shaved my head to humiliate me before America, she said, her voice certain. Today I use the law to ensure he loses everything. Her words hit X, garnering 400,000 shares in hours. In the waiting room, Haba hugged Leavitt. We crushed Langley. Cole will remove him. Elise Stefanik texted, Cruz and Hawley confirmed the Justice Department opened a criminal investigation into Langley. You did it. Leavitt nodded, but knew the battle wasn't over. Langley could appeal, and CNN was running pieces smearing her as an agitator. She needed to solidify the victory. Leaving the courthouse, a girl in a MAGA hat grabbed her hand. Miss Leavitt, you're our hope. Leavitt smiled, feeling relief. Thank you, she replied. We fight together. Leavitt, from a victim with a bare head, had become a warrior using the law to destroy him, turning his humiliation into a banner of victory. 3 days after the decisive hearing, Judge Margaret Cole declared Langley stripped of his judgeship for abuse of power, facing civil lawsuits and a Justice Department criminal investigation, thanks to the video, audio, and witness evidence provided by Leavitt and Alina Habba. Thousands of MAGA supporters waved #Justice for Karoline signs, joined by 200 reporters from Fox News, Newsmax, and CNN, capturing the historic moment. President Donald Trump stood beside her, eyes gleaming, ready to announce a new initiative. Leavitt gripped the microphone, her gaze sharp, aimed at Langley's legacy. "Americans have won justice," Leavitt began, her voice resounding as if running a White House press briefing. "Judge Edward Langley personally shaved my head, mocked me, and recorded a video to humiliate me for my loyalty to Trump. He covered up 7 abuse complaints, took $200,000 in secret funding from an anti-Trump group to protect his corrupted power. Today he's lost his seat, his reputation, and his freedom." The crowd roared, applause thundering. Trump patted her shoulder, laughing. "Karoline is a great warrior, Langley's liberal trash, and we crushed him." He announced the America First Justice initiative will ensure no more Langleys. Supporters roared, and the #AmericaFirstJustice trended on X, hitting 3 million mentions in 24 hours. The initiative, drafted with Elise Stefanik and Habba, mandated anti-abuse training for 10,000 federal court staff, judge background checks, and independent oversight to prevent cases like Leavitt's. Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley pledged to bring it to the Senate Judiciary Committee within 30 days. Leavitt held up a copy of the proposal, sunlight glinting off the paper. "Langley thought he could break me," she declared. "But this bare head is proof we will reform justice to protect patriotic Americans." The crowd applauded, and the speech, live-streamed, hit 7 million views on X. That evening, Leavitt appeared on Newsmax with Greg Kelly. Her bare head gleamed under studio lights, no longer a mark of shame but a badge of victory. "Karoline, you took down Langley, a judicial tyrant," Kelly said, his voice admiring. Leavitt nodded, her gaze resolute. "Greg Langley personally shaved my head to humiliate the MAGA movement. He thought he was untouchable, but the video, audio, and witnesses exposed him. Americans want justice, and our initiative will ensure it." She urged viewers to keep sharing abuse stories on X, turning her personal victory into a national movement. The clip hit 4 million views, shared by Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, who called Langley a symbol of corruption. Langley faced severe consequences. Stripped of his judgeship, he faced civil lawsuits from Leavitt and 3 other victims, demanding $5 million in damages, pushing him toward bankruptcy. A Justice Department criminal investigation, sparked by Cruz and Hawley's pressure, targeted his secret funding and complaint cover-ups. The public turned against him, with 70% of Americans in a Rasmussen Reports poll calling him corrupt. He dodged the media, but the security video image, wielding the clipper, mocking Leavitt, became an icon of abuse. Liberal media fought back, with CNN calling Leavitt's initiative a MAGA stunt, and MSNBC accusing her of manipulating the public with her 5 million mention X campaign. A White House advisor, Mark Reynolds, voiced concern, "Karoline, this could overshadow the president's tax agenda." Leavitt stared at him, her voice firm. "Mark, Langley shaved my head to humiliate our movement. Ignoring him lets the liberal media win. I'm not stopping." Reynolds fell silent, knowing Leavitt was unyielding. Karoline Leavitt stepped into her Washington, D.C. apartment, the dim living room light illuminating her bare head, where sparse hairs were starting to grow, a sign of rebirth after her resounding victory over Judge Edward Langley. Langley, the symbol of corrupted power, had personally shaved her head to humiliate her before the nation, but now he'd lost his judgeship, faced civil lawsuits demanding $5 million, and a Justice Department criminal investigation per Republican senators' demands. Leavitt's America First Justice initiative, implemented in 10 states with 10,000 court staff trained against abuse, had become a legacy, with the #AmericaFirstJustice hitting 3 million mentions on X. But as the door closed, the noise of crowds and cameras faded, and Leavitt faced herself, not just the White House press secretary, but a wife, mother, and woman who had overcome a brutal ordeal. The battle with Langley, who had wielded the clipper, mocked her, and ordered a video with the words "You'll have no voice left," had made her an icon, but it also stole nights with her family and confidence in front of the mirror. She stepped into the bathroom, facing her reflection. The bare head, once a mark of Langley's humiliation, was now a badge of victory, yet it still evoked the clipper's buzz, his arrogant smile. She touched her scalp, feeling new hairs, and gave a faint smile. Langley thought he could break me, she whispered. He made me stronger. Leavitt opened her inbox, finding an email from a law student, Emily Harper. Miss Leavitt, I watched the trial on TV and read about your initiative. You inspired me, a small-town girl, to believe I can fight abuses like Langley's. Thank you. Leavitt reread it, her heart warming. She replied, Emily, thank you. Keep fighting. Justice starts with people like you. She shared the email on X, adding, for people like Emily, I took down Langley. #America First Justice. The post garnered 150,000 shares, reinforcing her image not just as a warrior, but as an inspiration. She sat at the dining table, opening her laptop, re-watching her Newsmax interview. Her bare head gleamed, her voice resounded, calling for judicial reform to stop future Langleys. She paused the video, staring into her own eyes on the screen. The eyes of someone who had faced humiliation and risen stronger. The ordeal with Langley, with his 500 cases and 80% liberal rulings, wasn't just a legal fight. It forced her to confront fears of judgment and turn them into strength. She realized she wasn't just fighting for Trump or MAGA. She was fighting so Nico could grow up in a fair nation, where corrupted power like Langley's had no place. Leavitt took a notebook, writing, justice isn't revenge, it's protecting people like Emily, like Nico. She thought of Alina Habba, Elise Stefanik, and millions on X, who helped her defeat Langley. They didn't just bring victory, they helped her grow, from a sharp spokesperson to a humane leader. She closed the notebook, stood, and looked out the window. The lights flickered, reminding her this fight had changed her forever. Langley, the man who shaved her head to humiliate her, was now a pariah. Leavitt, from victim, had used the law to destroy him, turning her bare head into a banner of inspiration. A year after Langley, the symbol of corrupted power, who personally shaved her head in a sealed room at the Philadelphia federal courthouse, humiliated her, Leavitt had turned that humiliation into a weapon, defeating him with law and media. Langley lost his judgeship, faced civil lawsuits, demanding $5 million, and a Justice Department criminal investigation, with 70% of Americans in a Rasmussen Reports poll calling him corrupt. Leavitt's America First Justice initiative, implemented in 15 states with 12,000 court staff trained against abuse, was now a national legacy. Today President Donald Trump summoned her to announce a new role, before a crowd of 300 lawmakers, MAGA activists, and reporters from Fox News, Newsmax. Trump stepped to the podium, his voice booming. Karoline Leavitt is the greatest warrior of America First. She crushed Edward Langley, the liberal tyrant who shaved her head to humiliate our movement. Today I nominate her as senior advisor for judicial reform. The crowd erupted in applause. Camera flashes lighting up the room. Leavitt stood, her navy blazer sharp, her gaze resolute yet warm. She took the microphone. The entire journey, from Langley's Clipper buzz, his mocking smile, to the legal victory, flashing through her mind. A year ago, Judge Edward Langley thought he could break me. She began, her voice low but powerful, aimed at Langley's legacy. He personally shaved my head, mocked me, recorded a video, said I would have no voice left because I represented Trump. He covered up 7 abuse complaints, took $200,000 in secret funding from an anti-Trump group to protect his corrupted power. But with the support of President Trump, Alina Habba, Elise Stefanik, and millions of Americans on X, we destroyed him. The America First Justice Initiative is a promise. No one gets to abuse power to humiliate patriots. The crowd roared, and the hashtag #AmericaFirstJustice hit 4 million mentions on X. She held up a copy of the initiative, emphasizing, in the past year, the initiative has trained 12,000 court staff across 15 states, reducing abuse complaints by 30%, per a Justice Department report. This is the legacy we leave, to ensure no more Langleys. The audience applauded, and Leavitt's image, live-streamed, hit 10 million views. Charlie Kirk shared instantly, Karoline Leavitt just rewrote American justice history. #Stop Langley Abuse. Candace Owens posted, from victim to leader, Leavitt is the face of MAGA. Outside the venue, a young woman, Emily Harper, the law student who had emailed her, approached, eyes gleaming. Miss Leavitt, because of you, I joined a conservative legal group, Emily said, her voice trembling with excitement. Leavitt hugged her, warmth spreading. "Emily, you'll carry this torch," she replied, and Fox News cameras captured the moment, going viral on X with 200,000 shares. That evening, Leavitt posted her final X message about Langley. "Langley shaved my head to humiliate me. Today, I'm senior advisor, with the America First Justice Initiative as our legacy. Stand up against abuse. #Justice for Karoline." The post hit 5 million views, shared by Dan Bongino and Ben Shapiro, who called her a game changer. Some neutral accounts praised her too, with a Politico piece noting, "Leavitt turned personal humiliation into national reform." She stepped onto the balcony, DC's lights flickering. Langley, the man who shaved her head to humiliate her, was now a bankrupt pariah, his reputation shattered after 500 cases and 15 years of power. Leavitt, from victim, had used law and media to destroy him, turning her bare head into an inspiring banner. She opened Emily's email, smiling at the thought of girls like her carrying the legacy. She texted Haba, "Sis, ready for the next battle?" Haba replied, "Always ready, Advisor Leavitt." America First Justice wasn't just law, it was a promise that no one would endure what she had. Langley lost, but the real victory was the future she built, for America. As senior advisor, she would keep fighting, for Trump, for justice and for herself. The story of Karoline Leavitt and Judge shaved Karoline Leavitt's head in court, then she took a ruthless revenge deeply reflects the political polarization, the power of social media, and the resilient spirit in American society in 2025. Leavitt's humiliation by Judge Edward Langley, who personally shaved her head with a mocking smile and the words, "You'll have no voice left," was not just a personal act but a symbol of efforts to silence dissent in a tense political climate. Leavitt's journey from humiliation to legal victory with security video, the erase all traces audio, and emails exposing Langley's cover-up of 7 abuse complaints, shows the power of evidence and strategy. She leveraged X with 5 million #Justice for Karoline mentions, and allies like Alina Haba and Elise Stefanik, to turn her bare head into a symbol of resistance, defeating Langley and driving the America First Justice Initiative. Support from Nicholas Riccio and Nico, alongside Emily Harper's email, underscored the role of family and community in overcoming trials. The lesson is that in America's polarized society, confronting injustice like Leavitt did requires persistence, using platforms like X to shape the narrative, and gathering ironclad evidence, like the video and emails against Langley. Turn personal hardship, like a bare head, into a catalyst for change, as Leavitt did with her judicial reform initiative. Building a network of allies, from Haba to Stefanik, is key to defeating corrupted power. Finally, never forget family and community, like Riccio and Emily, as they fuel the strength to fight for justice, not just for yourself but for a fairer America. Subscribe to the channel to join us in continuing the fight for justice as Karoline Leavitt did with Langley, and thank you for supporting the America First movement. See you in the next video, where we'll explore new inspiring stories.